Hello there, and welcome to Fable TLC Cut Content, the series that tries to show you as much content that goes unused relating to Fable to help give you some idea of how different the game could have been. This includes things like weapons, spells, NPCs, creatures, food, potions, augmentations, hero titles, and many more. If this sounds interesting to you, then a link to my playlist on the project can be found in the video description, along with a link to a mod known as the Content Museum, which you are looking at right now, where I try to make some of these things available for other people to play. So if you want to try some of these out for yourself and don't want to spend the time spawning or rigging everything, then this mod has you covered. In today's video, I'll be covering all of the cut quests that we are currently aware of based on evidence that has been found in the game. Though most of these will only be covered briefly in this video, I do plan on going over certain quests in more detail in another video. On top of that, this video will include as much detail as I can find relating to quests that have very little information on them, since making a separate video for each quest would feel unnecessary. This should also give you a sense of scope for how many quests actually ended up going unused in Fable, since me and some other modders speculate that there could be more than 30 quests that were either changed before release or ended up getting scrapped because of time constraints.
Be an adventurer like yourself, but look at me now, begging to survive and getting bullied by this brat all the time.
If you are eager to read up on all of this information before my more detailed quest videos come out, then I highly recommend checking out Albion Secret's Discord server, which will be linked in the description. Albion Secrets is the modder who managed to find a very old version of the text.big file and then formatted the text file to make it more digestible. Not only that, but he managed to look through the text file for references to as many quests that he could find. This resulted in 23 of the quests we know so far, which he carefully documented into a cut quest guide. This cut quest guide can also be found on his Project Seasons Discord server. The Cut Quest Guide is over 100 pages long and details all of the information he could find relating to these 23 quests, including text files for dialogue, references to scripts and cutscenes, objects and NPCs involved with said quests, things of that nature. Since the details of these quests are somewhat vague, and by that I mean they were either cut even from earlier versions of the game, or the quests were never truly implemented, Albion Secrets even uses screenshots and his own reasoning behind what he thinks the quests could have played out like. It took him a very long time to make, and it's been of great value when making these types of videos, so I highly recommend checking it out if you are interested in learning more on it yourself. After putting together all of this information, another modder from my own Discord server by the name of Game Genie used this existing information along with both information that he was already aware of about quests on the disc for Fable TLC, and he even checked the text.big file for himself to find even more quests that Albion Secrets managed to miss out on, which made the total amount of potential quests go up from 23 to 30, possibly even more. Game Genie does intend to put out his findings sometime in the future. As you can see, he gave me some examples of what to expect when it is finished, but it's going to take him some time to properly analyse everything he has found. However, he was nice enough to outline these quests for me and explain why he thinks they might also be unused or scrapped quests from before the game was released. Now, I'm going to have to do something really meta here for a second and show you my script for the video, since it's where I slowly put together this list of potentially cut or changed quests. Now, when I first looked into cut quests for Fable, I just thought there was maybe a couple, maybe 4 or 5, but from what I could gather there is up to or more than 40 quests which have evidence to support that they were either altered before the final release of the game or they were scrapped completely. This isn't the order that we will be going through these quests, but it should give you a sense of how many quests we are actually talking about here. These quests are Dragon Boss Fight, Arena Revisited, Traveling Beggar, Traveling Bully, Travel to the Necropolis, Return the Artifact, Foiled Theft, Ransom Victim, Easy Pickings, Escaped Convict, Witchwood Trader Escort, Haunted House, Mad Bomber, Guild Training, Rotten Glade, Battle Good, Battle Evil, Ritual Sacrifice, Night Watch, Help the Sheriff, Wasp Hives, Heroes Old House, Bandit Camp Path Journey, Statue Master, Snow Troll Attack, Suppress, Uprising, Minion Camp, Ridicule, The Arena, Talentless Bard, Ambush Traders, Nymph Hunter, Temple of Light, Chapel of Evil, Demon Doors, Undead Rising, Feats, Bearded Baldy, Prison Escape, Sword in Stone, and Lychfield Graveyard. So let's start ourselves off with some of the familiar ones that we do have a lot of information on, since these will only be covered briefly in this video. Our first one is a one that a lot of people probably know at least some information about, which is the original Dragon Boss Fight quest. As you may know, and spoilers if for some reason you happen to have never played Fable The Lost Chapters or Fable Anniversary before, but you get to fight a dragon in that version of the game when you visit the Northern Wastes, which is believed to be possessed by Jack of Blade's soul. This storyline occurs after you defeat him originally in the Chamber of Fate. However, it is believed that this quest was actually meant to be implemented in the original Fable all the way back in 2004, and isn't a unique idea specifically designed for this version of the game. Since they had a chance to work on Fable again, they decided to bring this feature back in TLC and make it work with the current storyline.
Here you are. It's been a long wait, but I knew you'd free me eventually. Yes, always the puppet. Don't you ever get tired of having your strings pulled? I am no mortal man. The gods and demons you fear and worship are as nothing to me.
That being said, there is information in both Fable for the original Xbox and Fable TLC which support the idea that this quest was meant to be different, and it went through plenty of different stages before the final release of the game. It is believed that the stages that this quest went through are like this. In the original Fable, they did plan to create a quest that focused on the dragon and tied it into the storyline. However, the developers were becoming more aware that they would never have time to finish this quest, so instead they made the idea for the dragon quest smaller by making it a feature that was locked behind a demon door. Once they realized that even this idea was becoming hard to implement into the game in time for Fable's release, they scrapped the idea completely, which was later reborn into the Jack of Blades boss fight that we know today, with the release of Fable The Lost Chapters.
All this heat, all these flames, it's just like the day Oakvale burned.
The evidence supports an entirely different storyline that was intended for the quest, which could have been based in Hook Coast. A demon door that would allow you in if you had enough renown.
It's you. your renown has spread. But beware, you have never faced a challenge like this. Seriously. I have contained this threat for 1,000 years. It could kill you where you stand. You may pass. Git.
A map that would be used as the arena for versing the dragon, similar to Jack's boss fight, called Dragon Cliff, and then there is the dragon itself, which was meant to be called Trogdor. And finally we have the trophy, which you would receive for completing the dragon boss fight quest.
There's nothing we could do. He has power like none I've ever seen. And he has your mother and sister too. If either of them dies, Avo will help us all. Stop him, lad! For all our sakes, stop him!
Since I mentioned it earlier, it should be a good time to mention that the original ending boss fight against Jack was also meant to be different. In fact, there is evidence to support that there were two quests involving Jack. The first one I will talk about is the Travel to Necropolis quest.
We've got to get out of here! It's after us! No! We're all gonna die!
As you're probably already aware, in the retail game, the way the story goes is that you find out that Maze is a traitor who was working for Jack by enabling him access to the Septimal Key.
You're alive? Yes, I was worried when you disappeared. Your sister. I know. I had to tie her up. Jack is controlling her somehow.
There is really no time for this, old wizard. Finish the ritual, Maze. I'd like my key now.
It's almost over, and it will be easier with the boy here.
The Septimal Key. You've hidden from me far too long. Take our 2 blood bags to the chamber. I shall be this.
Surprised? You shouldn't be. Only an idiot would oppose Jack. You can't win, boy. The world belongs to Jack now.
This then leads to a boss fight with Maze, which then leads to you chasing down Jack of Blades to stop him from unlocking the focus sites around Albion.
So Maze couldn't hold you. He wouldn't have seen the end of the day anyway. this site is active. But don't worry, I haven't finished with you yet.
Looks like he's done whatever he was doing, but the portal is still open. Follow him through. I'll stay here and teach these animals who Briar Rose is.
However, based on evidence that can be found inside an older version of the game's text.big file, it is believed that Scythe and Briar Rose would have actually given you information about the Necropolis somewhere between this time frame before Jack's original boss fight. This would have prompted you to call upon the Ship of the Drowned, which would send you to the Necropolis, similar to how you do in Fable the Lost Chapters, only this time it was to stop Jack from receiving the Septimal Key from that location instead of Hook Coast.
Well, here's your ride. Looks, cozy.
Once he received the Septimal Key from the Necropolis, he would unlock the focus sites and then return to the guild to obtain the Sword of Aeons. Two things to also consider about these events is that there is dialogue for Briar Rose talking to Scythe during this part of the game where you chase down Jack to unlock the focus sites, along with an object that goes unused, which appears to be a giant crystal that has the Sword of Aeons encapsulated inside of it. These may have also been related to this quest.
Oh, now this one looks promising. Oh, hello. You must be the kid Maze is always talking about. Can't imagine what he sees in you. Still, I suppose Maze knows best. But where are my manners? I'm Briar Rose. No doubt you've heard of me. No time for autographs, I'm afraid.
Speaking of Briar Rose, have you ever noticed that she is nowhere to be found after visiting her in the Heroes Guild and Bowerstone near the start of the game? After that, she doesn't show up again until you join with her to chase down Jack of Blades and stop him from opening the focus sites.
Always thought they were damn ugly things. I don't want to die for them either.
Based on evidence in the game, there may have actually been a reason for this, as it supports the idea that during the time you are in Witchwood, you were meant to go looking for Briar Rose, who went missing, and that the Witchwood arena would have been the main focus for this search. What outcome this may have had is uncertain, and all we really have to go off of is a quest summary for the arena in an older text.big file which states, visit the arena to investigate the disappearance of the hero Briar Rose. On top of this, there are also voice lines that go unused for the arena commentator that might point out various gameplay mechanics, such as complimenting you on your flourishes.
What a flourish!
Decapitations, and whenever you generally do damage to the enemy.
What a hit! Good strike! Ouch! Oh, we all felt that one!
There is even alternative voice lines for when the commentator introduces Jack of Blades, and it's possible that it could have led to another boss fight with Jack, possibly before he managed to get his hands on the Sword of Aeons, but as far as I am aware, there is no evidence to truly support this.
A legend! A mask from the past! He's been Arena Champion 7 years running! He was responsible for the slaughter of Ishmar! The torching of the White Lodge! and the slaying of Kyrus the Dragon.
If you are interested in seeing more about these arena text lines that go unused, I already have a video that goes over all of these on my Fable TLC cut content playlist called Arena Text Files. Since we're on the topic of the arena, did you know that back in the original Fable, you were meant to return back to it after beating it a first time? There is both text files for dialogue entries and scripts that reference this quest, which is called Arena Revisited. In this quest, you would return to the arena as a champion and be asked if you would like to go again, but this time for 10 rounds.
You coming to spectate or participate? Participate, eh? Well, you'll need a nomination from the guild, just like everyone else. You've already got one. My apologies. You can go in any time you like.
What you would verse during this version of the arena is unknown. It's possible you versed the same creatures as last time, along with some tougher enemies for the last couple of rounds, since the original arena only had 8 rounds. It could also be possible that the Arachnox wasn't meant to be the final enemy you would encounter in the original arena quest, and that among these creatures that you would verse in the Arena Revisited quest would have been the Queen Scorpion, but there is no evidence to support this, and is merely speculation. However, it would explain why the Queen Scorpion goes unused. Next up is the Mad Bomber quest. There's still some references for this quest in Fable TLC, such as the Blast Box weapon and the creature entry for Flick from the arena being named Creature Mad Bomber. However, in an earlier version of the game's text.big file, there is references to a lot of text entries and script data involving this quest. For example, there are lines for a blacksmith from Knothole Glade who talks about a mad bomber that is running around with blast boxes and trying to blow up houses in Knothole Glade. Based off the lines for the Mad Bomber, it's believed that he is seeking retribution on a certain woman. The cutscenes for this quest were put together again by the modder Albion Secrets. Our next quest, or should I say series of quests, is the quest involving demon doors. There are 2 sets of scripts that go unused which are still in the game files for Fable. One of them we mentioned earlier, which is for the dragon and is opened by having a high enough renown. Another is believed to be an earlier version of the abandoned road demon door. But on top of this, we have text files that are left in an older text.big file that suggests most of the Demon Door's lines were changed before release. If you would like more information about this, I just recently made a video on it for the Fable TLC cut content series called Unused Demon Doors. Since the Demon Door segment itself is out of the way, let's go over some clues for other quests that this information provides us. The first one being the Demon Door from Lychfield Graveyard.
Leave me alone, you organic pustule. I only open for Nostro, the ancient guardian of the door. Not for you, and not for that rancid gravekeeper.
In the retail game, Lychfield Graveyard acts as a barrier of entry for the storyline. You usually can't go past this point unless you are ready to enter Bargate Prison. To do this, you must retrieve Nostro's armor and then return it back to the coffin in his crypt. This will grant you access into the Lychfield Graveyard Demon Door.
My armor, my helmet, my sword and my shield, gather for me in the path I shall yield. The sword can be found beneath the ground. If you are brave, try the hornet grave. My armor, my helmet, my sword and my shield, you gathered for me, so the path I shall yield.
So, you helped the Old One recover his armor. I'll let you through then. Be careful though. I don't want your finger marks all over me.
But based on lines that I mentioned earlier, which can be found in an older version of the game's text.big file, the Demon Door never mentions Nostro. However, what he does ask you to do instead is help the Gravekeeper retrieve his armor, which gives us the impression that Nostro was not thought of this early in the game's development, or at least the story involving Nostro was completely different. On top of this, the Demon Door immediately warns you of what lies behind it, leading me to assume that the door might have led to the Graveyard Circle, rather than containing the Graveyard Path that we see in the final game. But there is no further evidence to support this, it's merely my own speculation based off these lines of text. Remember earlier how I said that there was still information in the game's data for a Demon Door that could have been related to the abandoned road?
What? Oh, you're not one of them, are you? My eyesight's not what it used to be. One was a gallant knight. His plate armor was so shiny. Probably what did my eyes in. Then there was an evil mage. Wore the darkest magical robes you ever saw. The last was a rogue. A bandit. Bit like the chaps here. Where is the gallant knight I await?
Unfortunately, the text files for this Demon Door were removed from the retail game, but just like the Lychfield Graveyard Demon Door, this one has lines that can still be found in an early version of the game's text.big file. The Demon Door for Abandoned Road in the retail game uses the script name DD 3 Suits and DF 3 Suits. This is because the requirement for the door is to dress up in 3 different outfits. However, the Demon Door that goes unused is called DD Dress as Bandit. With the name of the scripts for this door being similar to what is required for the 3 Suits Demon Door, it gives us the impression that the Dress as Bandit Demon Door could have been an earlier concept for the one we see in the final game. The text files themselves help further confirm this idea, as they are not only different to the 3 Suits Demon Door, but the Demon Door puts more of a focus on simply proving you are a bandit. This has gave some of us the idea that in an earlier version of the game, maybe you were originally meant to use this demon door in order to enter the bandit camp instead of sneaking into the camp like you do in the retail game. However, there is no further evidence to support this.
Here, you heard what happened to Stern?
No. What did the idiot do this time?
He only lost his bloody cap in a raid. Was a week before he could get back into the camp.
Yeah, you can't get in unless you're in full gear these days.
The final demon door that could have determined the outcome of a quest is the Witchwood Stones demon door that is a part of the Find the Archeologist quest. In order to gain access into this door, you have to spell out the door's name by hitting the stones that can be found there. This then progresses the quest so that you can speak with the Archeologist.
I only open to those who know my name. If you know it, find and hit the magic stones to spell it out. Only one person knows my name, but I doubt you'll find him, even at the Temple of Avarice.
Hits!
So, you worked out my name. Big deal. In you go.
There are lines in an older version of the game's text.big file, which are given a similar entry name to the ones which are used in the Find the Archeologist quest. Based off the lines, the door was meant to be very reluctant to allow you access inside of it, similar to the one in the final game, and most notable of all is how it states that he only allows people who are a VIP. This is interesting because it is believed that the Archeologist uses the creature entry of a different NPC that was also cut from the game, called the Trophy Dealer, and it is speculated that the Trophy Dealer would only sell his goods to a hero who is a VIP. This could mean that before the game was originally released, the developers scrapped the idea of the Trophy Dealer from the game, and instead of completely throwing away the idea, they reworked the Trophy Dealer's demon door to act as the one we use for this quest. The only problem is that there is no further information on how this VIP status was meant to be achieved, so it could just be a coincidence, but if it is, then it is a really convincing one. Something to also consider is these unused lines in the older text.big file, in which the Archeologist informs you about the arena and says that it would be a good idea to go to Knothole Glade for a nomination to enter. He also informs you about Scarlet Robe before you even go to Knothole Glade, even giving away important details this early in the story, like how it's your mother and she was an arena champion at one point in time. What's also noteworthy is how he says he recognises you from Orchard Farm. This could be alluding to another cut quest, but more on that later.
The Temple of Light is here to help you. Generosity is welcomed with open arms.
Next up are two quests which I covered in a previous video, referring to the Temple of Light and the Chapel of Evil, or, as you are probably familiar with, the Temple of Avo and the Chapel of Skorm.
Come to the Chapel of Skorm. Those who worship here are filled with the poison of pure evil. Will you donate to my cause?
These are the two temples that are the moral antithesis of each other. For example, the Temple of Avo rewards heroes who want good alignment, while the Chapel of Skorm rewards heroes who want to harbour an evil alignment. This is done by donating gold or sacrificing villagers to the respective temple.
Your rewards will be slight.
This devotee will contribute to your growing immorality. The die is cast. The means of sacrifice has been determined. Fire, furnace, and flame. The inferno of doom awaits.
And earn either of the gods' favours. However, there is a whole multitude of quests that go unused and could have been related to either the Temple of Avor or the Chapel of Skorm, along with further proof that supports the idea that the temples went through multiple names before development, maybe even different locations. These names include the Temple of Light, Chapel of Evil, and the Chapel of Shadows. If you would like more information about these two temples and the quests that may have involved them, then I recommend checking out my previous video for the Fable TLC cut content series, which is called The Temple of Avor and the Chapel of Skorm.
I thought you'd have a stronger stomach than that. Come on. Save your energy, boy. It's not me you want to fight. You might not realize it, but I just saved your life. My name is Maze, and I'm the head of the Guild of Heroes. You must have heard of it. You'll find nowhere safer in all of Albion, nor a better place to call your home. And if it's vengeance you want, you'll need the training only we can offer. Here we are. I'll introduce you to the Guildmaster. He'll be your guide from now on.
A lot of things about the guild training segment were even meant to be different, so technically this could count as a couple of quests, but for the sake of this video we'll just put them all together into one group. As you're probably aware, in the retail game, Maze takes you away from Oakvale during the night that it gets raided by bandits to the Heroes Guild, so you can train to become a hero.
You'll be sharing this room with Whisper, one of our brightest young pupils. She's playing in the woods right now, but you'll meet her in the morning. For now, you should get some sleep. Your training starts tomorrow.
So let's start off as early as we can, which the first thing to talk about is the Hero Center. This is a version of the building that was used during a very early period of the game's development. The reason this building is much smaller than the Heroes Guild is because rather than being a giant school that taught apprentices how to become a hero, it was more of a mercenary facility that helped heroes find quests that the citizens of Albion wanted them to perform. It's said by some of the developers that during this time of Fable's development, the game didn't really focus too much on a story, and instead the guild was meant to be a consistent way of receiving quests, alongside all of the other things you could have been doing, like exploring and getting married. Later on, presumably after the Project Ego era of Fable's development, the guild slowly became more involved with the story, which meant it needed to be bigger. I have another video in the Fable TLC cut content series that shows more of the Hero Center if you're interested in checking that out. So now that we've covered the backstory for the Heroes Guild, let's briefly cover some quests that were meant to be involved with the guild training quests. I'm guessing these were meant to be some of the early quests they came up with in regards to the guild training portion of the game's story. In the retail game of Fable, you are taught the 3 disciplines which are presented to you in the form of a test. You fight Whisper to prove your strength.
Training with real weapons now. Get used to the weight of this sword, and let's see if you can hit Whisper with it.
Come on, girl. Get your guard up!
Shoot dummies to prove your skill.
To begin with, see if you can hit the 3 stationary targets.
and zap as many dummies as you can to prove your will abilities.
It's time to learn about will powers. We'll begin by striking these strong dummies with lightning.
However, in an older version of the game's text.big file, it shows text entries for lines that were meant for different objectives to the hero disciplines we are used to. Instead, the 3 missions you would perform during your guild training would have been to clear out the guild woods from beetles,
use your stick,
which was later changed to be a mission that starts before your real training.
Well done, lad. The beetles are all dead. You can come out of the woods now.
The second was to find a lamp which Maze had hidden somewhere in the guild woods. This was the most interesting one as it involved more than just searching for a lamp. Upon your arrival to the guild woods, you would find a man who was referred to in the text files as Lamp Thief, who would try to convince you that he has the lamp that you are looking for. He claims that he saw where Maze hid it and swiped it when he wasn't looking. You would have had the option to buy his lamp, refuse his offer, or intimidate him until he relinquishes the lamp.
This one then. Thanks a bunch. Oi! Get your hands off me! Stop it! Stop being so violent! Oh.
This would have then led to the final objective, which, similar to the retail game, was to fight Maze and test your abilities in combat. I will probably cover this in more detail in a later video, but Albion Secrets did an excellent job finding a ton of text files relating to it for his cut quest guide, if this sounds like something that interests you.
I suppose you're wondering how you pass the final test then. It's simple. You must defeat me, using all you've learned in your years of training.
Just like the Temple of Avor and Chapel of Skorm quests, there are 2 quests which are synonymous with each other, despite being the moral opposites of each other. These are the Travelling Beggar and the Travelling Bully quests. If you've played Fable and finished the guild training, then odds are you will have seen the Beggar and Bully arguing in Lookout Point. This quest is called The Beggar and the Child, and only consists of this single event where you decide if you would rather pick on the beggar or the child which is bullying him.
Look at this filthy pile of rags. He really expects people to give him gold. Great, try belching at him. It's just so funny.
Used to be an adventurer like yourself, but look at me now, begging to survive and getting bullied by this brat all the time. You must be able to get rid of him somehow. Anything'll do. Use your imagination.
With that being said, data for another 2 quests can be found scattered around the towns of Albion, which reference 2 quests known as Travelling Beggar and Travelling Bully, which, based off these quest names, it could imply that after this quest, the 2 of them decided to travel across Albion. Although it's unclear if both quests would have been available at the same time, or if the previous quest would have influenced who you met in each town. My guess is that if I were to hit the bully during this quest, then that could mean the next time I'm supposed to confront them, the beggar would show up instead of the bully, since I helped him out last time, and vice versa. If you were to attack or insult the beggar last time, then only the bully would show up. But there's no real way for us to confirm this theory.
You've earned my thanks, hero. I'm sure you'll make many friends in your travels. Perhaps we'll meet again, hero.
The areas that this quest would have taken place in are Bowstone South, Bowstone Key, Bowstone North, Oakvale, Witchwood, and Knothole Glade. Due to the length of the quests and with how many areas they were meant to have taken place within, they are easily the quests with the most data to support them. This includes things like quest items such as pies, the beggar's hat, litter, pocket watches, and so on. Text and script data to help us learn more on the details of the quest and where exactly these events would trigger. A big ass chicken. No, trust me, it's relevant. And finally, the pickpocket ability, which was tied heavily to the travelling bully quest, making us assume that he was meant to act as more of a tutorial to the game's stealth mechanics. However, it's not the only quest where we will be bringing up this pickpocketing mechanic, but for now, I think I've gave you a brief description of what this quest had to offer without ruining it for you, since I plan to cover it more in depth in a future video, but you know where to look if you want to read more on it.
Are you looking to make a purchase? You're a walking joke.
Another quest which would have taken place in Lookout Point is the Statue Master quest, which still technically exists in the retail game. In Fable, the Statue Master quest is responsible for the statue that moves in Lookout Point. Wherever the finger points to can trigger an event in the game. The two known spots for this are Greatwood, which makes a chest appear during the daytime, and Bowstone South, which opens the cellar door at around nighttime. However, based off an older version of the game's text.big file, this quest was originally meant to be totally different. In fact, it suggests that there would have been multiple statues scattered around Albion, and in order to complete the quest, you had to attack each one with a certain element, such as flame and lightning. There's also this statue which uses the name Lookout Point Statue. It looks as though it is also pointing. Technically, this model doesn't go unused, as they are the statues which can be found near the Greatwood chest, but this could have very well been an early model for the statue at one point in development. Next up is a quest called the Talentless Bard. Despite being an event in the game which just makes the Bard NPC talk to you about quests you have done, this interaction is actually considered a quest in of itself. Once you reach a certain point in the game, I'm guessing about Oakvale or Knothole Glade, a bard will appear in the tavern of each town, and you can pay him some gold to sing songs of the quests you have previously completed, and sometimes he'll comment on other things too, such as your alignment and which choice you made during certain quests.
Very good.
Greetings, hail, O hero bold. I am, you see, a famous bard. I sing you songs, you give me gold. It really isn't very hard.
A few things to consider in the game files that could be linked to this quest is how there is a loot that goes completely unused in the final game. Spawning this loot will make it act like a weapon, and instead of a loot, it acts like a one-handed frying pan that for some reason does 0 damage. Next we have text files that can be found in the text.big, which support the idea that the bard would ask you to play the lute during this quest and help inspire him to write his own music. What's interesting about this is that you had a chance to fail the quest, which could be possibly hinting at a cut lute minigame, similar to a one that you can do as an expression in Fable 2. Finally, we have some more text files that go unused, and could have been earlier versions of the ones that we see in the final game. Game Genie managed to put together and list each quest he thinks it belongs to. I won't be covering it over in detail here, so feel free to pause if you'd like to read them for yourself. Based off what can be found in the TNG files for the Picnic area and Bowerstone South maps, you are meant to find a bulletin board there, which was meant for another cut quest called Help the Sheriff. It's possible that this bulletin board acted in a similar nature to the map table in the guild, giving you a chance to take up smaller quests that the Sheriff of Bowerstone wanted you to act out instead of the guild. Almost like objectives. Unfortunately, not a lot is known about what these objectives would have entailed, which means this quest was most likely scrapped earlier on in the game's development. Now we have the Spooky Haunted House quest. In the retail game, the Grey House acts as an area that gives off the impression it is haunted. This is further confirmed by the ghost of Lady Grey's sister, who you can talk to during the Expose the Mayor quest. In the game files for Fable lies a whole bunch of objects that go unused, which are listed for the haunted house. This includes things like a pair of slippers, a music box, a toy rocking horse, and a doll. Based off dialogue and script data that can be found in an earlier version of the game's text.big file, it is believed that you would be visited by a ghost upon arriving to the haunted house, who would explain how you have to explore Albion and find the missing pieces to these objects and return them to the haunted house to fix them.
Ah, there you are! We've been expecting you!
Another quest near the Barrowfields area is a cut quest called Hero's Old Home. This is a quest that is believed to trigger as soon as you enter Oakville, and based on evidence in the game files, may have involved going back to your childhood home and finding out about the ghost of your father that is haunting Oakville's graveyard.
Hello, I remember you. We thought you died in that awful bandit raid all those years ago. So where have you been all this time?
It is also believed that the Sister's Locker, which is also a cut item in the game files, may have been involved with this quest, but unfortunately not a lot more is known about it. Did you know Fable was meant to have its own sort of achievement system that was tied to the game? This system was called Feats, and is an active quest that would track how well you played the game. By completing certain objectives such as moving around the world, collecting so many items, killing so many creatures, and raising your combat multiplier, you would be awarded with both gold and experience, similar to the way the quest system works. Just like the Temple and Chapel quests that I mentioned earlier, there is another 2 quests that are believed to have worked in tandem together, depending on what moral alignment you have. These quests are called Battle Good in Battle Evil. From what we know in the game files, this quest would have most likely triggered in Dark Wood Marshes and involves picking a side between a group of bandit lieutenants or a group of Bowstone sheriffs.
Who's there? Like your face was screwed.
Unfortunately, not a lot about it is known, making us assume that this quest was either very early in the game's development, or was meant to act as a sort of random encounter. That being said, the markers and creatures intended for this quest can still be found in the level files for Darkwood Marshes. Based off the way the two quests are named, it is assumed that Battle Good would trigger if you reach a certain amount of good morality points, and Battle Evil would have triggered if you had enough evil morality points, determining which side you would fight for to complete the quest. So, this means we are officially up to the halfway point. If you're still watching this, then good on you for not dying of boredom yet. Up until this point, I have strictly been covering quests that I plan to cover in more detail in later videos. In a way, I have been intentionally holding back on what I can talk about them. This is because the next quests I will be talking about have next to no information about them at all, meaning that I might as well cover them all here as thoroughly as possible without having to make them their own separate video.
Oh shit, here we go again.
Let's start off with the 3 quests that can be seen after completing your guild training. These are the quests Snow Troll Attack, Suppress Uprising, and Minion Camp. When you're at the point where you can accept the Wasp Queen quest card, you will notice 3 quests that you can't obtain due to your character not having enough renown. In most cases, even cheating or grinding enough renown will still prevent you from accessing them, since they were never meant to be obtained by the player. There is one exception to this, which is the Suppress Uprising quest. A user by the name of Plock the Master Gamer, who uploads other Fable related videos too, actually recorded himself grinding the game for hours just to see the result. Upon doing so, he was able to accept the Suppress Uprising quest. However, it is never added in your quest log due to the quest being considered a dummy quest. If you go into the game files for Fable using a program like Fable Explorer or Chocolate Box, you can actually find the object and quest card entry names which state that these are dummy quests. Upon further inspection, unlike actual quests that you experience in the game, these are set to not act as core quests or vignettes, which I think are the main ways that the game distinguishes between a main quest and a side quest. Yet these quests aren't even listed as either, nor do they have any boasts associated with them. These dummy quests are meant to act as fake quests that make it look like heroes such as Briar Rose are taking more important quests that require more renown than yours. This is probably why the Suppress Uprising quest allows you to accept it despite not working, since the cutscene for Briar Rose requires her to interact with the map table.
Ah, now this one looks promising. Oh, hello. You must be the kid Maze is always talking about. Can't imagine what he sees in you. Still, I suppose Maze knows best. But where are my manners? I'm Briar Rose. No doubt you've heard of me. No time for autographs, I'm afraid. I have to get to Knothole Glade for an important mission. Speaking of which, if you came for a quest card, all the best ones have gone already. I'm sure the guild can find you something to do, though. I hear the kitchens need cleaning.
Upon entering Greatwood for the first time, it is believed that you would get a quest that was cut from the game known as Wasp Hives. Unfortunately, not a lot about this quest itself can be found in the game's data, other than the quest title and summary, which says Wasp Hives. Destroy Wasp Hives in Greatwood. This quest must have been developed really early and scrapped sometime before release, since it can still be seen in early presentations for Fable back in 2003.
It's going to be good. Well, of course, if I was playing it, I would almost certainly be evil in this quest, but there you go. And so Simon has chosen to pretend the experience your character is. You can combine physical combat, swordplay combat, with magical abilities. You can combine swordplay with range combat, any combination you like, so that halfway through the game, your character may look like Cohen the Barbarian. He may have huge muscles, the ground may slightly shake as he moves around, but he'd be useless instead.
On top of that, the Wasp Nest and Wasp Nest Generator is still in the game files and can be rigged to act as a creature generator that will keep spitting out wasps whenever you are near, until it is destroyed. Based on the video presentation I just showed you, it seems the generator was only meant to spit out one wasp at a time. It's possible that this Wasp Hive would end up leading to the Wasp Queen, but there is no way to confirm this. Once you reach the Temple of Avor for the first time, you will find out about the Sword in the Stone quest. This is the quest where a group of Knothole Glade villagers are surrounding a sword that is stuck in some rock on top of a hill. These villagers are trying to see if any of them have the strength to pull the sword from the rock. You can acquire the sword yourself by maxing out your strength, or using an alternative method of waiting on strength until you first interact with the sword, and then leveling up your strength skills by an average of 3 or 4 depending on the ability.
So, have you heard the legend of this sword? A knight of the old kingdom called Hugh wielded a sword like no other. He was a giant. The sword cut through monsters, people and demons like parchment. It possessed power that mortals could not control. Dying, Hugh thrust it into the living rock from which it could never be removed. Legend says that only somebody as strong as Hugh the Giant can remove it. Perhaps it's just an old wives' tale. Perhaps it's a fake.
Paladin of mightiness.
Fingers crossed, let's see what the hero can do!
Wow, you're as strong as a giant! Wait until the chief hears about this!
In the retail game, the villagers on the hill explain that the sword once belonged to a man named Hugh, spelled H-U-W. It is said that Hugh was a giant, possessed supernatural strength. Before dying, Hugh plunged the sword into the stone, meaning that no one can acquire the sword unless they had the strength of a giant. The sword in question is called the Harbinger, a one-handed melee weapon that comes equipped with a sharpening and piercing augmentation. Something I have found interesting about the description for this sword is how it mentions the creation of the sword, yet nothing about the wielder of the sword, which was Hugh the Giant. It always confused me because why have a legendary sword that even has NPCs alluding to its legendary status, only for none of that to pay off when the sword is actually in your inventory, but I digress. In the game files for Fable lies another Sword in the Stone. However, this acts as more of a placeholder that they use to test out the concept for the quest involving the sword. What's interesting is that it appears to just be a steel longsword stuck inside of some stone. The quest for the Harbinger is called the Sword of Strength, while another weapon that can be found in the game files has the entry name of Sword of Strength. This is a melee weapon called Slayer, which appears to be a one-handed version of the Bereaver. This sword not only has 3 augmentation slots, unlike the Harbinger, but it actually has a description that mentions Hugh instead of the origin of the sword's creation. In this description, it calls him Hugh the Divine and says nothing about him being a giant. However, it does describe that he was powerful enough to get the sword stuck into the stone, similar to how it is in the retail game with the Harbinger. No matter how you play through Fable's story, you will inevitably end up in Bargate Prison, which leads us to the prison escape quest. When escaping Bargate Prison, you have to get the key from the warden's office and use it to escape your cell. This is where you are then able to recover your weapons and escape with your mother, Scarlet Robe. However, there is text entries in the game which insinuate that the original intention for this quest was to start a fire inside of your cell, which would alert one of the guards and convince him to check on your cell. While trying to put out the fire, you were meant to pick his pocket for the key and leave the prison that way. How you would proceed from this point in this version of the game is unknown. However, it would explain why one of the guards in Bargate Prison is carrying a silver key that can't normally be acquired by the player since the pickpocket expression goes unused. Based off the text entries for this quest, it appears that one of the prisoners in a nearby cell would have offered to help you pull off this escape and gave you the idea to pickpocket the guard's key. This would explain why he uses the script name of Prisoner Accomplice in the final game. A lot of you are probably familiar with the vanilla quest called Beardy Baldy. This is the quest where a man offers to let you meet his daughter if you decide to change your appearance to meet the hairstyle cards that he shows you. This quest can be found in Bowstone Key.
Hello there. I don't think you've met my daughter, have you? She's rather lovely, if I say so myself, though a bit fussy. She's keen to meet strong, handsome men like you. Ah, that's good news. I think she was starting to get a bit lonely. Thing is, she only likes men whose hair looks like the picture on this card. Maybe if you looked like that, she'd let me introduce you to her. Come and find me when you're ready. I won't be far away.
text entries that can be found in an earlier version of the game's text.big file point towards a different setup for this quest. Rather than the gentleman informing you about his daughter, he would instead say that he has a special package for a certain person. You would need to convince him that you are this person by changing your appearance to match the hairstyle cards that he presents. Similar to the retail game, he will then go on to admit that there was no package that was meant for anyone and he just likes to make heroes like yourself look like a fool. And just like the final release, he even has 2 alternative lines for when the quest ends. In typical Fable fashion, he calls you a git in one of them.
Man, any harm. Nice selection of face fungus you have there. But to be honest, I don't give 2 hoots what you look like, and neither does my daughter. She doesn't even exist. I just like making heroes like you look stupid. Have you seen yourself? You look ridiculous. But you've made me happy, so here's a little reward. Now go and have a shave.
Now for a quest that was completely scrapped from the final release of Fable. This is called the Return the Artifact quest. Remember earlier how I mentioned that the Archeologist had unused dialogue where he states that he remembers seeing you from somewhere, most likely Orchard Farm? This could be hinting at 2 things. 1, that the Orchard Farm quest was meant to be completely different, or 2, that the Return the Artifact quest would have somehow linked to the Archeologist in some way. However, based off what I can tell, there is no evidence to prove either of these theories. Anyways, the Return the Artifact quest was meant to take place in Orchard Farm. Upon arriving to that area, you would find a woman asking you to send an artifact to the Temple of Avarice. Interestingly enough, the NPC uses a script name that refers to them as the Artifact Man, meaning that the model you find in Orchard Farm might not be the intended one. There is no way to tell what model was meant to be used, however it is still confusing that they used a female as a placeholder if the NPC was meant to be a male.
Yoo-hoo! The bronze gate open? Why didn't anyone tell me? We're all going to die!
After accepting her quest, you would make your way with the artifact to Witchwood and head straight for the Temple of Avarice. On the way there, you would see a group of bandits and ruffians willing to take the artifact off your hands in exchange for a fake version of it. Agreeing to this would most likely give you evil points, while returning the real artifact would give you good points. How the quest would progress from this point is still unclear though. As you can probably see in the footage, I am using the Sister's Locket, but realistically we don't actually know what the artifact it is referring to is supposed to be either. If we had to guess, it could probably mean the artifacts that you're supposed to protect during the Orchard Farm quest, but there's no evidence of this. Another quest that was cut from the final release is called Foiled Theft. In this quest, you are asked to steal an artifact from the Temple of Avarice instead. This could mean 2 things. 1, that this quest was the evil version of the Return the Artifact quest, or 2, that this quest was meant to be a continuation of that same quest. But this is merely speculation based on how closely linked the story between these 2 quests are. Anyways, upon arriving to the Temple of Avarice, you would find 2 guards looking after the artifact. It's unclear how they found out, but the guards will end up talking to each other about how they believe the artifact they are watching over is in fact a fake, and that the real one is hidden under a log somewhere.
Watch out, Rollo. Here comes that hero we was warned about.
I see him, Shanks. Looks a bit lethal if you ask me.
That's what I was thinking. How about we make ourselves scarce?
Sounds good to me.
You have the option to fight the guards watching the fake artifact and take it. Once you've received the fake version, the sheriff would approach you.
Watch out, Rollo. Here comes that hero we was warned about. I see him, Shanks. Looks like he's already fought the others. So why is he coming back here? I don't know. The artifact was under the log. We're just guarding a fake. And I'm not dying for a fake. Yeah, and me, definitely.
You would then find the original artifact inside of the aforementioned log and then return it to whoever gave you the quest. Unfortunately, not a lot of details can really be confirmed, as data involving this quest was either scrapped or never truly implemented, meaning it was probably never finished to begin with. That being said, the cutscenes that you have been watching involving the guards can still be found referenced in the game files, and similar to the Mad Bomber quest, were recreated by the modder Albion Secrets. Similar to the last couple of quests we've been looking at, this is another quest that went completely unused in the final game. This quest is known as Easy Pickings. The summary for this quest reads, successfully pick the pockets of 3 traders. Based on the text entries that can be found in an older version of the game's text.big file, this quest would have involved a man in dark apprentice robes asking you to pick the pockets of 3 traders in Oakville. The man would lure you to him and offer you a reward for however many items you managed to take from the traders. It's believed that the items in question would be these necklaces, which can still be found in the game files. The 3 traders can be found talking and drinking in Oakville's tavern. After a little while, they will exit the tavern very briefly to get some fresh air. It's at this moment that you are meant to use the pickpocket skill and steal from as many of them as you can while they are distracted in conversation. Once you return back to the man who gave you the quest, he will reward you with 50 gold for each of the necklaces, netting you a total of 150 gold if you manage to pull it off successfully. Night Watch is another quest that was removed from the game for some reason, but can still be found referenced in the game files. However, unlike the previous quests, there is next to no information regarding it. Either this quest was scrapped early or it never had the chance to be implemented into the game, but based off the quest title and summary, we can speculate that the whole point of this quest was to patrol the streets of Oakville as a guard during their night shift. What you would witness during this quest is unknown, however it's possible that this quest was the original reason why the guard outfit was made for the hero.
Yeah! Hurrah!
I could worship a man like that.
Well, look who it is. We better get moving now you're finally here. The executioner don't like to be kept waiting. Oh no. Keep your eyes peeled. This scum's bandit friends might try and free him on the way up the hill. Wouldn't be the first time, I can tell you. Oh yeah, and don't get no funny ideas. The only one who's going to be slicing this man's head off is the executioner himself.
Next on the list is a cook quest called Escaped Convict. In the retail game, there is a quest called Execution Tree, where you must decide whether to help the guards escort the prisoner to the executioner, or work with the bandits to help the prisoner escape. The Escaped Convict quest could have been a predecessor to Execution Tree, as the nature of the quests are similar. Instead of helping the guards escort a prisoner, you're instead tasked to find the convict who managed to escape his cell from the Bowerstone jail. Originally, there were meant to be 2 prisoners inside of the cell. During the quest, one of them remains inside of the cell and decides not to run away as he feels it would only make his sentence worse. In fact, the remaining prisoner has lines of text where he states that he would prefer if you returned the missing prisoner so that he has someone to talk to. It's not really known where you would find the escaped convict, but after finding his location, you would have the option of making him follow you peacefully, or intimidating him so that he follows you without question.
Follow.
Oh, yes!
Once you've returned the convict back to the jail cell, he would be imprisoned again and the quest would be completed. If you hurt the convict or even end up killing him, then the guard will respond with various lines of dialogue based on the severity of his injuries. It's assumed that killing the convict would fail the quest. In Fable the Lost Chapters, there is a quest called Ransom Victim, where the hero must return the Knothole Chief's son by either paying the ransom or killing the assassins who kidnapped him.
Oh, a hero! At last. It's my youngest son. He's been captured by bandits. I've told him never to go playing in the woods. They say they'll send me his head if I don't pay the ransom. Oh, why does everything happen to me? Why? They're holding him in a cave in Witchwood, those filthy savages. You have to rescue him. Here's the ransom gold. If you can kill the lot of them, it's yours to keep. Just make sure my son is unharmed. Oh, I must lie down now in my hut. This is all too much.
Alternatively, the chief's older son will try to persuade you to hand his younger brother over to him instead of the chief, so that he can take advantage of the situation.
My father is a stupid old man. Can you believe he's talking of making the brat the next chief around here? We can't let that happen, my friend. It would be the end of this town. If you want to make some serious gold, bring the boy to me. I'll be waiting for you on the secluded path on the opposite side to the demon door.
Well, despite how fleshed out this quest is, there is still a lot of data left over for another version of this quest that might have been planned for the original game. If you open up the program Chocolate Box and use the region editor to view the Haunted House map, which is the region name for the Grey House area, you can find a whole bunch of markers that were related to this quest. One for the dealer near the entrance, 2 for bandits that would try to attack you, and 2 near the demon door for the hostage and someone guarding them. It is believed that in this version of the quest, a man in Oakville would ask you for help. The man would go on to explain to you that his lover has gone missing, and that he needs someone to help him find her. During this period of searching, you will stumble upon a ransom letter that would say she had been taken away by bandits. You bring the letter to the man, who asks if you can go to Darkwood to help get her back. Upon arriving to the destination in Darkwood, you would be approached by a bandit who would tell you to hand over the gold and to remain where you are so that he can bring the hostage. When the bandit starts to walk off, you are meant to follow him and find out where the hostage is actually located. However, you had to do this without being seen. The man you need to follow is called the Collector and has plenty of lines of dialogue for when you hit him, if you get caught, and when you try to talk to him. All of which can result in him calling off the deal or reporting to the boss and saying that the hostage can be killed since they have the money already. After finding the hostage and killing the kidnappers, you are meant to return the woman to her lover and the quest would be completed. However, whatever dialogue was meant to be used for the ending of this quest can't be found, which gives the impression that despite being nearly finished, the developers couldn't complete it in time for the final release of the original Fable. A very obscure quest that is left in the data for Fable the Lost Chapters is a quest called Rotten Glade, or at least that is what it is referenced as in the game files. Not much of it is left, really, except from a few markers for undead and scared traders that can be found in Darkwood Camp. The quest summary for Rotten Glade says to deal with a necromancer that has gone rogue, and some text files can be found from the Talentless Bard quest that talk about it, but ultimately there is nothing left in the game files to go off of. What most of us assume is that you would enter Darkwood Camp after accepting the quest and find out that it has been overrun with undead soldiers that are tormenting the traders there. After rescuing the traders from the undead soldiers, you would find the necromancer and stop him from spawning more minions, but how that would occur is unknown, so your guess is as good as mine, really.
Lead the way! You know I burnt down a whole village once.
Must you poison the air with your words?
A quest that Albion Secrets has listed on his cut quest guide is called Ritual Sacrifice. Despite the awesome name, not a lot is known about this quest, since there is little information on it. There is a quest summary for it, which says that you need to intervene in a sacrificial ceremony, but other than that, no one really knows how the quest was meant to play out. Based off the name, it's possible it could have involved the Chapel of Skorm or an unused map named Darkwood Village, which appears to be desolate and devoid of life, but this is merely speculation.
You feeling okay?
Man, I think fairies have burrowed their way into my gums.
Once you have completed either the Attack or Protect Orchard Farm quest, you will notice a trader that just spawns outside of the guild in Lookout Point. This trader will ask you to take him to Orchard Farm, now that you know your way there.
I'm looking for someone to take me to Orchard Farm. I'll pay you if you helps me. It can be dangerous for traders round here. Here's the deal, see? You get a quarter of the fee now, and the rest when we get there in one piece. Just talk to me again if you decide to escort me. I'll wait here until then.
However, there is data in the game files which suggest that there was meant to be a Witchwood variation of this side quest. It's unclear if both of these quests were intended, or if the Orchard Farm quest ended up becoming the successor to this quest. In the Witchwood Trader Escort quest, you are meant to help a trader get from Witchwood Colorsgate all the way to Knothole Glade, since he is wanted by bandits for unknown reasons. There are markers still left in the game files that show bandits in the centre of the map, along with markers that suggest you would have the option to fight or sneak past the bandits. It's presumed that once you reach Knothole Glade, you would pay you for the job, but not a lot is really known other than that. My friend from the Discord server named Game Genie pointed out that the Talentless Bard has lines of text for a quest called Undead Rising in an older version of the game's text.big file. Unfortunately, no other information of this quest exists in the text file that these lines come from. But if we go to Fable the Lost Chapters, this quest is clearly intended for the Lychfield Graveyard quest. This shows us that it's possible that the Undead Rising quest was meant to be different, or that even back then, this quest wasn't truly fleshed out yet. Just like with the previous quest, we don't know a lot about this one other than a few text entries, this time relating to the quest title and summary, which state that the quest is called Ambush Traders, and that you are asked by a group of bandits to attack a heavily secured convoy of traders. It's believed that this quest probably ended up becoming the Bandit Spy Extraction quest, but we don't really have any more information on if the quest was any different to what we got in the final release.
That's a terrible crime no matter who you are. That's a terrible crime no matter who you are.
Aren't you going to talk to me? So, you're the one everyone is talking about. I must say, you have me intrigued. Will you walk with me to the courtyard? I would so love to speak with you. It's lovely here, don't you think? But sometimes it feels like the loneliest place in the world.
Now this is probably the strangest cut quest of the lot. Based on text entries that can be found in the game files, the quest is called Ridicule, and although it doesn't state who exactly is asking you to make this request, based off the dialogue and the way it is worded, it is assumed to be by Lady Grey. During the quest, where you have the option to marry her, for some reason one of her requests was meant to be called Ridicule. During this quest, she would request that you prove your worth by embarrassing yourself and making yourself look like a fool amongst the people of Bowerstone North. She says that she doesn't mind how you go about doing this, but that she would consider you worthy if you managed to pull it off. It's unclear whereabout in the quest this would take place, but it's assumed that this would be the last request by Lady Grey before marrying her, based off the way it is worded. We finally made it to the last quest on the list. Well, technically we will be looking at 2 quests, but only because of how closely tied they may have been. First we have the Hobbe Cave quest. This is the quest where a granny asks you to help her find her grandson inside of Hobbe Cave.
James, is that you? Oh, James is my grandson. You have to find him. He's the only relative I have left. Such a sweet, helpful boy. I don't know how I'd manage without him. I knew this would happen. He's gone back to those caves. I just know. He got quite a scare with the things he saw down there last time, I can tell you. But he did bring back some gold. Oh, and he found something else while he was there. I don't know what it's for, but it might be useful. Here. Please find him. I don't know what I would do if anything happened to him.
She gives you the hexagon key and sends you on your way. During the quest, you encounter plenty of Hobbes, and I mean plenty of Hobbes. Then eventually you find the grandson, which is held hostage by a water nymph.
I will not give him up. The sacrifice must proceed. Provide an alternative human, and I may release him.
I don't want to die!
But based off evidence that can be found in the game files for Fable TLC, this quest alone could have been somewhat different. For example, there was a whole bunch of assets in the game for a cave and a couple of rocks that go unused, which appear to be similar to the nymph chamber that can be found in Hobbe Cave. However, this version of the cave has more of a snowy atmosphere, as though it could fit better in a place like the Northern Wastes. There's also an ice nymph which goes unused, meaning that the nymph you would find in this chamber was most likely intended to be an ice nymph. There is a gate for the Nymph Chamber that also goes unused and seems to bear a similar shape to the hexagon key. Perhaps this gate was originally meant to be used to hold the grandson, and that's why you needed to have the key before being changed to the door inside of Hobbe Cave.
You off on a quest? Look everyone, it's the chicken chaser! Killer of chickens! Oh! You a clown or a hero?
And last but not least, we have a series of nymph wings that can be found in the game files which go unused, including a set for the ice nymph that I just mentioned. What's interesting about them is that their mesh entry says that they are meant to be trophies. I'm unsure if this means that you needed to collect all of the nymph wings and hand them in to someone, or if the wings themselves would be your reward. But this could be leftover data for some kind of Nymph Hunter quest. However, this is literally the only piece of evidence we have to work with, since no text file, entry data, or quest scripts can be found to support this quest was even worked on. I believe that should give you a good overview of how many quests went unused in Fable, got scrapped, or were changed before release. Remember that I do plan to cover some of these quests in more detail in future videos. This is just a compilation of all the quests that the Fable community as a whole have managed to find. Hopefully you enjoyed your time watching this video. If this kind of thing interests you, then a link to my playlist for my Fable TLC cut content series can be found in the description for this video. All of the relevant links should also be in the video description.